The reason why I want to fix it because I'm uncomfortable. Like I feel uncomfortable with your emotion because I see you're in pain, you're hurting, you're sad, you're irritated, and I don't like seeing that discomfort in you because it's making me uncomfortable. I want to solve it for me. I want to feel better as a dad, and I want to make sure that you feel good. So let me solve your problem so I feel better. I mean, I want to help you too, but I want to feel better.
Russ Kimura, welcome to the Dad's Project podcast.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Just for some context, where are you right now?
So I'm in Hawaii, but I'm in my old room. I'm at my parents' house. The internet wasn't quite working out in the country where we lived, out on the beach. So I was like, let me come to a place where there's more stable internet, and I'm in my old room, the room I grew up in.
Yeah, man. I know I said it right before we hopped on to record, but I really appreciate it, guys. This just shows the type of human being that Russ is. We tried to record last week, had some technical difficulties, and now he's gone out of his way earlier in the day. It's 5 p.m. my time in Hawaii to jump on and share his knowledge. So, Russ, I truly do appreciate you, man.
100%, man. Glad to be here.
Russ, you are the founder of Fathers with Daughters. This is such a selfish episode for me. We're both wearing pink because you are a father of 3 girls. What is Fathers with Daughters?
Fathers with Daughters. Yeah, it's a mission, a vision that God placed on my heart. And basically, I have 3 daughters, like you said. Ava's 16, Lily is 14, and Belle is 13. So I have a house full of girls. You know, I got a little plaque for Father's Day that said, "Girl Dad officially outnumbered," like literally outnumbered. I actually have a funny story. We got a bunny for them, well, for them when they were little, and we brought the bunny home. And for the first 5-6 years of Bunny's life, I was like, "It's a boy. Like this bunny is a boy." So we treated him and called him a boy and everything. And then one day he got hurt, so we had to take him to the vet. And they checked him. Guess what? It's a girl. Of course, I'd have a girl bunny as well, right? I was like, my one, like, this is a boy. I at least have a boy pet. He's a girl. Anyway, that's kind of weird. But it was funny. I was like, man, I'm completely outnumbered, but super blessed to have 3 girls. As I started to realize having 3 girls is both a joy and a challenge. I'm sure I'm not the only dad out there that's trying to navigate and figure out what is this, the differences that we face as fathers with daughters. You know, fathers and sons are also a great calling, but you kind of know what it is to be a teenage boy. You kind of know what it is to kind of grow up with certain things. No idea what it's like to be a teenage girl. I have no idea what it's like to be a princess, to, you know, navigate all these things. And some of the things that I was doing to try to connect with my daughters were just missing. I'm like, what the heck? I'm trying to be a great dad, but I felt like just me being what I know wasn't hitting home. I was missing. I thought, man, I'm sure there's other dads out there. And so that's where Fathers with Daughters started coming about, where what if I was able to take what I've learned, and I continue to learn, because I'm doing this for myself too, selfishly. I want to be a better dad. And so by me, you know, engaging the community, by me coaching other dads, it helps me be real intentional. Like yesterday, I was having a really tough conversation with one of my daughters, and I was so tempted to just give solutions and, you know, start talking about, well, yeah, but what have you thought about this? And I just, from all the training and all the stuff that I've done with Fathers with Daughters, I literally said nothing, which is so hard and counterintuitive for us as entrepreneurs, as problem solvers, as men who are able to get things done and solve problems and figure it out. It was so hard. I mean, Nick, I had to tell myself, don't say anything, don't say anything, don't say anything. And then 10, 15 minutes in, she came up with it. Well, maybe I'll do this. Or I was like, what? She actually worked it out in her own head and came around. Yeah. Had I said, hey, what do you think about this? Maybe it probably would have pushed her away and been like, right, almost rebel. I don't want to do that. But it was like the silence and listening, and maybe just the affirmation of like, I'm hearing you, I'm with you, I'm holding space, which is such a weird thing, but it actually worked. And it was weird. Not worked as if, oh, like I tried this thing, but me putting in the training and the work to sit and listen, and then listen some more, and then listen some more without adding in any of my stuff. It was like one of those pictures of like, she came to it and said, well, maybe I'll do this. I'm like, wow. She came to the conclusion on her own, which is the most beautiful thing. But many dads, I feel, we don't get there because we just jump in. We cut it short.
Right.
We're giving solutions. We're telling them how it should be or what they could do, even if it's a suggestion. Hey, I think you should do this, or have you thought about this, or why are you always trying to fix me? Right? Is the thing we hear. So Fathers with Daughters started there, and it started with events. Started doing different events, and I realized, man, there's much more hunger, not just for showing up on a daddy-daughter date, but I think dads want to show up for their daughters. And what if we created a community and coaching and events and experiences around fathers with daughters? So that's the long answer to where FWD. And then my buddy couldn't make one of my calls. He said, hey, how did FWD go? I was like, what is FWD? Oh, fathers with, I love that. FWD, forward movement, like just this idea of, FWD. So that's how it came about.
Wow, so many things I want to pull on there. And I think some of my other questions that I have for you are going to jump in. But first and foremost, you mentioned events. What are those events? I know you've got some big ones. You've now started doing some like lower level ones. Share that because I think it's such a cool thing that you're putting on out in Hawaii.
Yeah, one of the principles that I ascribed to really early on was date your daughter, right? I can't wait to take my daughters on daddy daughter days. It's kind of a cool, fun thing, and I would try to encourage other dads to do that. And then so one of those things was they had a little prom out here that a church was doing as a fundraiser. I was like, dude, father-daughter prom? That sounds sick. I'm going to decide. As soon as I could take my daughters, I took them. And then I took my oldest. And then the middle one wasn't old enough yet. Then she was old enough, so I took both of them. And then my youngest wasn't old enough. And eventually I took all three of them to the, so we would go to these proms. And then COVID happened and they weren't gathering. And so the girls came up to me like, hey, when's prom? I was like, there's no prom this year, girls. No one's gathering. We're bunkered down. I was like, well, but what if we did a Zoom prom? Just in my crazy mind, I was like, what if we did a Zoom prom? Because everyone's on Zoom, right? Everyone's doing stuff at home. You're seeing all these things people are doing at home, dressing up and doing different things. So I put it out there and I got like 20 dads hopping on a Zoom prom, got all dressed up in their home, had music, dancing. And so that was the start of a at least father-daughter prom on Zoom. But eventually when things opened up again, I was like, I think we could do it in person. So I just started building a team and we started putting these proms on and prom events on. And to this past Father's Day weekend, so we do it usually on Father's Day weekend, we had
Cool.
over 350 dads and daughters come through the Hawaii Convention Center. And so we do these big events where there's dancing, photo booth, music, dinner, and raffles and games and all kinds of stuff like that. So we do these big events, but I also have done some smaller, like I did a Valentine's cookie father-daughter date. And so it was at like a small private residence. We had about 20 dads come through with their daughters where they could decorate cookies. And then we did a little scavenger hunt. So the dad and daughter would have to go, it's like a photo scavenger hunt. So they had to go to these different places. And at each station, it says, a little thing of like, hey, take a picture with your dad doing, and oh, I know what it was. Each station had out of 1 Corinthians 13 about what love is. So love is more than just flowers and hearts. Like love is patient, love is kind, love is understanding, all these things. So each one was like, okay, love is patient. We'll take a selfie with your dad, and what does patience look like? Or, little things like that. And so they would go around, do these little activities. Then they came in and we did cookies and we had an ice cream sundae bar, and dads were able to give their daughters these little teddy bears with hearts and all this kind of stuff, right? So I do different things. We did a holiday movie, father-daughter holiday movie night, where during the holidays we had this big LED screen and we did popcorn, and they could just come in the lawn, bring some food or buy some food and hang out and have a little like picnic with your daughter, and we watched The Grinch, so the animated movie. And so little things where I guess my heart's always been to coach and equip, and I was like, I don't want to just keep it for myself, but what if I can create things for dads to just show up and be present and love their daughters? And there was a moment, the first prom that we did in person, when I saw the daughters walking up and their smile and the excitement in their whole being. They were just so excited to be with dad and walking hand in hand, dressed up, and the dad being a little bit nervous but a little excited as well. And I was like, man, this is magical. And if I can create more of this, like for me as a driven like achiever, I want to create things and do things. But this to me was one of the things where I want to pour into this community and see how I can serve this community in the best way possible. That's where the events have come about. And so I'm right now currently thinking about a couple other events. Like I'm going to do a dream big event coming up. And so the principle is we're going to go to Dave & Buster's and you're going to play some games, and then we're going to sit down and there's going to be some food. And in that time, we're going to do like a dream big workshop where I'm partnering with this lady out here. She does these workbooks. And so you walk through this workbook about what are you dreaming about? Helping the daughters dream as it's going to be like a back to school thing. What are you dreaming about? And have the daughters write things down, and the dad's like walking alongside them, like, wow, I didn't know that was your dream. Wow. And so really, like, giving dads tools where they walk away like, man, I didn't realize my daughter's dream was to be a horseback riding, whatever. Okay. Right. And then the dads can have the tools to hey, why don't we sign you up for something, or let's move some things so that we can help you go after some of the dreams that God's placed in your heart. So those are the things that I'm thinking about. Like, we do fun, Dave and Buster's. We also do some equipping tools where the dads can get some real because I know dads, we want to prepare our girls. We want them to thrive and live, but sometimes we don't know how, or we just need a little bit of structure. And so what I basically do is I see the experiences as structure. I create the structure. You show up, you love on your daughters, you do that thing, that's your thing. But if I can at least create these pockets for you to show up and love your daughter, that's one more dad showing up for their daughter. That's going to create one more confident, radiant daughter in the world. And who knows where this goes, but I do believe we're going to make impact in legacy and generations as dads are showing up intentionally and being really mindful and present of their relationship with their daughter. So that's how the events have come about and my heart behind it.
Such a cool purpose behind it, and that moment that you spoke of in that prom where the daughter is just lit up and the dad's a little nervous but excited to be spending time. And I just want to commend you on taking the step. That first step is always the hardest, whether it's as an entrepreneur or as a dad, and being so deliberate with creating opportunities for presence. I know you talk about it a lot in your work. It always comes up on the podcast and in my work is, how do we cultivate experiences for dads, for daughters and sons outside of fathers with daughters, that where dads can be present, right? To speak love. You shared a story on another podcast, or maybe it was when we were connecting before, about, affirmations for their daughters at the prom and how beautiful of a moment that was. And it's hard for dads to create that. We know it's hard, but your ability to cultivate that experience and give dads that easy first step to being present is so powerful. And I do think it's going to expand. Like, I love what you're doing and the work and the mission behind that. Let's dive into a little bit of the coaching side of it. I know you're expanding that, and I want to use a post you did to start providing value on kind of the coaching that you're doing. So that post on Instagram, I believe, was 3 things you wish you knew before becoming a girl dad. And we're going to dive into these. We already kind of touched on one. Number 1 was, her emotions are not problems to solve. Tell me more.
Yeah, like I shared in that story that just happened to me yesterday, we, at least myself, but I believe other men as well, fathers, we think in boxes of, how do I solve these problems? And how do I, because that's, to me, the most loving thing is not to let you sit in that pain or let you sit in that problem. The most loving thing for me to do is to help you and solve that problem, or at least give you solutions or options. That, to me, is the most loving thing. In different worlds, like, inaction is actually the worst thing you can do. So to be inactive, meaning like I'm not gonna do or say anything, seems very like not loving, seems very counterintuitive. And I wish I knew that early on, because I had to learn this the hard way, and I'm continually learning this, is her emotions are all over the place, and that's normal. And for me to think, oh, well, you're thinking this and I need to fix that, what are my solutions, how do I do that? It's not my job to solve your emotions. As much as I realize, I reflected on this, the reason why I want to fix it, because I'm uncomfortable. Like, I feel uncomfortable with your emotion because I see you're in pain, you're hurting, you're sad, you're irritated, and I don't like seeing that discomfort in you because it's making me uncomfortable. I want to solve it for me. I want to feel better as a dad, and I want to make sure that you feel good. So let me solve your problem so I feel better. I mean, I want to help you too, but I want to feel better. And I realized, man, it's the reason it's uncomfortable is because I have to sit in the uncomfortableness, and I need to be okay with seeing my daughter in pain, seeing my daughter in struggle, and then not automatically coming and solving that problem and thinking that, because it's crazy, and I see this time and time again, is the emotion seems very real, and it is in that moment. Fast forward 24 hours, it's almost like it never happened. Like, we were just, you're fine now, and because I'm thinking, if this emotion's there, we got to solve it, or it's going to keep being there. No, I mean, that wasn't real in the moment, but I realize, give it some time, and it might work itself out. And if it's still there, and you use, this is a magic phrase that I'm learning, is like, hey, do you want some advice on that? Would you like Dad to share some thoughts on that? Ask permission. Simple as that. And I've had times where they say no. All right. and I can't. I'm not going to. Sometimes they say, yeah, I'd love that. Boom. Now it's not about like fixing the problem uninvited. It's invited in, and they say, yeah, actually, I feel stuck. I need some help. Cool. I'm your father, and I would love to help you with that. But sometimes, most times, we don't even ask. We just like assume, well, I'm the father, right? I'm supposed to help you with those problems. I'm supposed to solve those things. But many times, man, our daughter's emotions are not a problem to fix. You know, it's just for us to sit there and listen to them and then let it sift through. Like I said, 12 hours later, 24 hours later, if it's still there and she's still in that emotional state, and maybe we step in. Now obviously this is the caveat, is if there's like real danger, we need to step in, right? If they're suicidal or different things, we need to step in. But I'm talking about the swings of emotion from one to the other based on just something that happened at school or at their cheerleading team or whatever. These things will come up, and we need to make sure we understand it's not necessarily our place to solve and fix it right out the gate, and we have to be mindful of it. And it's a daily battle, man. It's a struggle that I constantly fight and work through, and I want to encourage other dads that you're not alone in this. But if we're not mindful, man, we're gonna keep stumbling. So if we have a community, a brotherhood where we're saying, hey man, we can be better, we're talking about these things, then it plays in the back of our mind. We're like, yeah, I know, just listen, just listen.
Yeah, I can tell you just from having conversations on this podcast with men like yourself, with other dads, and things that come up or tricks they use or things they're struggling with. My daughter was having kind of a meltdown. She's only 2, right? She's having kind of a meltdown last night. And I'm like, hey, you're having some big emotions. I'm just going to sit here in this, right? Where previously, that is such a beautiful point you brought up, that like, it's about me.
Yeah.
I don't want you to be crying. I don't want you to be yelling. I don't want you to be upset, but that's on me. And if I can have the self-awareness enough to be like, this is about her right now, and how can I hold space and just show up and listen? 7 times out of 10, things will start to calm down the less I interject myself, right? So I love that you shared that self-awareness piece. And the second one, and I think I've heard this regarding working with your partner or your spouse, but when they come to you with a problem, obviously you're sharing it with daughters, asking, hey, are you looking for me to listen, or are you looking for help right now? And being able to have that conversation and be invited in is a game changer. So number 1, Russ, changing the game right there with the first one. The second one is directly tied to that, so I don't want to dive in too deep. She doesn't need me to fix it. She needs me to feel it. So connecting those emotions in that experience, I love that. The last one, not every tear is a crisis. Sometimes it's a bridge. Tell me about that bridge.
Again, when we see the emotion, we catastrophize it. This is the end of the world. Man, my daughter crying, this is the worst thing. What does it say about me as a father, right? Like all the internal things that we struggle with when we see our daughters crying. I mean, let's be honest, that's one of the worst feelings, to have our daughter cry, whether it's, she's hurt, she's sad, she's emotional, because sometimes they just cry because, and we're like, okay, where's this coming from? Sometimes they don't even know where it's coming from. Whereas like, for us, that seems weird. Like, well, you should probably, we kind of know most times where things are coming from, right? They're just crying because they're crying. And like, if we're trying to like sift through it, okay, well, let's figure out where this is coming from. We're not making bridges. We're actually creating, like, we're creating division, or we're creating like more barriers between us without even knowing it, because we're trying to fix the tears. That must be really hard. Let me help you fix that. What a bridge looks like is, like you said, sitting in it, holding space. And here's the thing, as I'm talking about it, it sounds very passive and soft, right? And as men, that's really hard to hear and do. Like, what? We're just sitting around holding space? What does that even mean? Like, feeling your feelings, like what, like, it's like, huh, that's interesting. But the reality is they're girls, for one. And 2, if we just come in with the macho, like, hey, get over it. Come on, I build tough girls. Let's go. There's a time and place for that. So I'm not saying that we never, because what we don't want to create is entitled girls where it's just like, oh, you can feel whatever you want to feel, whenever you want to feel, for however long you want to feel, and daddy's just going to be here, like, no, we're also going to be raising strong, confident girls, but there's a time and place for that. And if our one tool is get over it, buck up, let's go, suck it up, you're going to be fine, push through, which is what we do as men, right? Like in our grew up playing sports. So like, it was never ever a thing where like you get scraped or you get hurt, or like, oh, hey, just sit in it for a little bit, let's see how this goes. Like, tape that thing back up and let's go back, get back in the game. Like we're not gonna like hold space for you and make sure your ankle's okay. And maybe in a couple weeks you could see if you could like put some weight on it. We're like, bro, just tape that thing up. We need you back on the field. Let's go. Right? Like that's just how we go. And if we approach
Right.
that same thing with our daughters, like, hey, come here, let me tape that up. Let's go. You're like, oh, I see tears. Come on, come. Let me wipe. You're tough. You're strong. Strong girl. You're strong girl. Let's go. And we just kind of like without even smelt was well meaning, but without even knowing, we're pushing them away. We're telling them my emotions are not safe for my dad. So I either don't show emotion to him or I don't come to him when I have really strong emotions because he doesn't know how to handle them. And all he's gonna do is like tell me I need to be tough and brave and move forward. So how do we balance that? Well, we build bridges. And so if we can hold space long enough to allow them to feel all they feel. And here's also the hard part. It could take a long time. Like 30 minutes, 40, like are you done yet? Are you still in this? Like we're like, hey, let's deal with this. Hey, I'm good for the first 10 minutes, but it's been 45 minutes. Like are we still in this? You're still crying, like what, right? And so I do believe there's a balance, but at the end of the day, it's being able to be conscious and present to see where's that balance of not immediately fixing it, like we talked about, to allowing, because the connection is even stronger if we're able to sit with them. The bridges are built because they're like, I can come to dad. Dad is safe enough for me to come with my tears, and he's not just going to try to fix me, but he loves me and supports me. And then after the tears, because at some point the tears will stop, at some point the emotions will come down to a level where maybe we can talk a little bit more logically and maybe come to some solutions again as it's welcome. And hey, are you good with me sharing some of my thoughts on
Right.
this now? I know that was very hard, and that was be honest, for me as a dad, that was hard to see your emotion, but that those are real. I want to support you in that, but I don't like seeing you stuck. And so if there's ways I can help you, could we talk about that? And that's the moment. It's not in the moment with the tears, but we see the tears as the trigger. That's the trigger to, we got to solve it. Something's wrong. It's time to fix it. It's time to get you out of your problem. Your problem is the tears. The tears are just like in it's an outpouring of something that's going on inside of them that they probably don't even know what's going on. So for us to try to solve something they don't know what's going on, good luck, man. You're swinging at a target that's not, but all the while pushing them away. And so it's a challenge, bro. Like again, for me to reflect on my daughter's tears, like I wanted in the worst way to solve that thing so we can get on with this and you can be done with this pain or whatever. But to sit in it was so hard. But it's so worth it because after they feel heard, they feel listened to, and they came up with some solutions that I didn't even have to say because she was able to at some point process it through the emotion and come up with some stuff. So, let's be reminded not every tear is like the worst thing in the world. Maybe we use that as an opportunity to build a bridge and remember that because there will be other opportunities. And if we've put up walls instead of bridges, they'll eventually like hit that wall and turn away and they're not going to come to us. And what I tell my girls, like I'm always about open dialogue. Like, even dating, like when can I date? It's not so much about when you can or when you can't. I just want to have an open dialogue around what does that mean to you? What does it look like? And then let's have a conversation. I'm more about that than telling you when you can or can't date and then you go behind my back because you felt you should be able to date and I told you 16 is your cutoff or whatever. And so if you like a boy or a boy likes you or you, what does dating look like? I want open dialogue. My biggest thing is just open communication. If we have that, we can work through a lot of things. And so if we're doing things that are breaking that open communication, breaking trust, some of those things, it's harder to have that kind of methodology of like, hey, I just want to have open conversation, except you don't ever come to me and we never have those open
Right.
conversations. So now I have to default to, you can't date till you're 18. You can't go on this till, you're this age or that, and there are certain boundaries, but I would prefer to walk with you through these things with open dialogue rather than I'm controlling you through certain, rules that you just have to follow. And it's devoid
Right.
of connection and it's devoid of the why. I tell my girls, I'm really big on the why. Because if we can understand the why, then at least we can make a decision based on that. So I say, hey, why do you need to date at 12? What does that look like? What's the point of dating? Tell me, and we can talk about it. And as they talk through it, okay, maybe it's not the best idea to date at 12. What does it even mean to date at 12? Like that kind of stuff. Like, and then so as they talk it out, hopefully they hear themselves and say, yeah, maybe it doesn't make sense for me to I like this boy. Hey, I get that. I understand that. And I had feelings when I was in junior high and I actually had a girlfriend in junior high and we held hands. But really, what was I realized at some point, what is this? Like, so open dialogue is always the best way, in my opinion, but it takes work. And we do so many things that break that bridge that we have to be mindful how do we make sure we're building bridges, not walls, when it comes to communicating with our daughters, especially when it comes to emotions, especially when it comes to the different things that they're facing. We might think it's helping, but we're probably hurting depending on what we're doing. And so my heart is to help myself and help other dads avoid some of those pitfalls, some of the blind spots, and coach through the problems. Hey, I'm getting stuck here. It just seems like my daughter's just running and not, we're just not, she's drifting from me. And the more I try, the more she seems to run away. What can I do? And then I walk guys through, have you tried some of these things? What do you think are the things you could do? And we coach and accountable, and like the relationships, I believe, will start to get better as you're doing these things. I mean, we're seeing these men see results because they're being intentional. They're working on things. It's coming top of mind, you know?
Right. What I'm hearing and throughout that whole conversation as we dove into that, which is such a beautiful and important conversation to have, is emotional maturity. And it's you as a dad being emotionally mature and aware of yourself. Like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm naturally feeling. But also cultivating emotional maturity and that bridge to your daughters. And I do want to add the caveat that I think this is also important for sons.
Yes.
I think a lot of the challenges that we face as dads now is because there wasn't much of that, like, hey, let me seek to understand the emotions of my son or now my daughter. Instead, it's like, I'm going to fix this. This is how it has to be. Get up, throw some dirt on it, get back on the field. Hey, you're okay. As opposed to like, let me slow down. Like we said earlier, this is not about me. What's actually happening? Yes, there's a lot of emotion and screaming about one thing, but like, what's actually going on right now? And as men, like you said, we naturally have this like space, emotional feelings, like, no thanks. But leaning into that discomfort's coming from somewhere, fellas. And if you dive into that, you'll probably figure out like, oh, maybe I should lean into my own emotions a little bit. So I think that's such a powerful conversation to have. But like, how can you level up that emotional maturity in yourself to create that bridge? Because if you're bridging from somewhere that's weak, it's going to be hard to maintain, right? There's no foundation.
That's well put, man. I love that. I've never really framed it that way, but I think you're 100% spot on. It is emotional maturity, which has, I think, by and large, us as men, that's an interesting topic. How do you again, being in touch with your feelings? What does that mean? Awareness of what you're actually feeling, right? Like it just seems so foreign. But the ability to be a really good, and again, in my case, girl dad, because there are a lot of emotions. Not that boys don't have emotions, they absolutely do. But if I love that idea you said, where if you're building a bridge but your side isn't stable, what are they coming on to? And so what I'm finding also within my coaching is it's actually men becoming better men first so that they can lead their daughters, right? Because we always talk about it. You can't do as I say, not as I do, right? If we're telling our daughters, hey, you need to eat healthy, you need to start working out, and we're over there like potato chips on the couch, never working out. It's like, they see it. What? But dad, but I'm the dad. I said so. So you better go work out. Like, so it's leveling up, not just in our fatherhood, it's actually leveling up as men. How do we become more emotionally mature? How do we become more congruent and integrous with the way that we live, the way that we communicate, the way that we handle conflict, the way that we admit our faults? How do we use this word circle back? Like I tell dads, you don't have to be present. I mean, you don't have to be perfect, but you need to be present. What present looked like is you weren't perfect. You messed up. Circle back, right? And then, hey, that wasn't perfect there. I messed up there, and I want to just come to you and let you know, like, that's not okay. The way I lost my temper there, and I'm going to be better. I want to be better, but I just need you to know, like, I saw that and I'm sorry, right? Versus we don't circle back. We just sweep it under the rug. I'm like, I'm a dad. They'll forgive me. I'm just going to keep going. I'm tough. I don't need to circle back with them. They don't, and they kind of get this picture of like, so is that behavior okay or not okay? Because they're questioning in their mind, okay, dad, he let that slide because it was him. So does that mean it's okay for me to kind of pop off that way, or to, like lose it in that moment or whatever the thing may be, But if we circle back and own up to it, I believe that actually that's more strength, even though it feels like weakness. I think we have this dad hero complex where we have to be perfect and we always have to get it right and we have to show them the model of everything. I actually believe some of the power is in our mistakes. And when we circle back and show them the humility of like, hey, I'm not perfect here, and you see it. I'm not hiding it from you. I mean, maybe here's the other thing. When they're younger, they think that is like the thing. Like that's perfect. Like that's the hero, Superman. But at some point, they get old enough where they're like, he's not perfect. He ain't Superman. So if we try to uphold that into their teens, bro, they know. Like we ain't fooling anyone that we're perfect. So rather than that, own up for it, own up to it. And I think that goes a lot further in respect from our girls, from our daughters. They like, I actually respect dad more. Not that he's perfect, but that he owns up for his stuff, rather than, hey, no, that we justify it. No, I'm okay because I did that, but you know what? They deserve their like inability again, emotional maturity, inability to own our emotions and really just sweep it under the rug and try to maintain this perfect picture of a dad that we aren't, right? And so I think that emotional maturity is a huge thing, and I love that you framed it that way. I think you're spot on, 100%.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And you're making this podcast very easy to host because you're just covering all my bullets I had here to ask you about. I love the circling back principle. I heard you share that, I believe, on another podcast that I listened to with you on it, and I wanted to hit on that. It connects directly to something Miles Davis, he was a former podcast guest, he talked about showing your work.
Mm.
And like, dads, you are constantly working on yourself, or you should be. And your daughters, your sons, your partner, they need to see that. And I think it connects perfectly with like, hey, I raised my voice. I lost my temper with my daughters. The situation kind of got out of control. I'm going to show the work by circling back to address that situation, to apologize, to admit that I was wrong, whatever that looks like. Russ, in a moment of vulnerability, do you have a story where you circled back recently? And can you share that with us?
I mean, we're talking Sunday. So on Sunday, we had a moment with our family where I lost it, and I don't lose it too often. But I raised my voice in a way that wasn't acceptable. But I raised my voice and I was yelling, and I don't really yell. I'm not a big yeller. I'm emotional. Like I get excited or different, but I don't really yell. Like, but I lost it, and I was yelling. I was yelling at my wife. And then my girls were kind of like starting to get emotional and they're saying stop, and I was yelling at them, like all of them, right? And so that happened, right? And because of to me, the severity, like it wasn't just like a little thing, like to me, it was kind of bigger. That night, I circled back with them and I sat, and they were still kind of emotional, kind of mad. And I just went in the room and I apologized as, hey, look, that I'm not proud of that. That wasn't right. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have raised my voice. I shouldn't have done that. My wife was there. I shouldn't have, I apologized to my wife in front of them, right? I apologize. That wasn't okay. I'm sorry. Will you forgive me? That was that night. But obviously a lot of lingering stuff. So then that was Sunday night. Monday, still, like, I think it was either Monday or even yesterday. We had another, no, we had two. Monday, we had a family meeting, but my oldest daughter was at work, but we had a family meeting where circle back again and just say, hey, I want you to share your emotions, or not your emotions. I want to share your feelings, anything you want to say to me. I recognize that wasn't okay. Here's where I want to be better. And girls were very transparent of like, yeah, you say these things, but sometimes these things happen. I'm like, no, I get it. And I'm not perfect. And I got to work on that. And I understand that. But at least being willing to dive in and like gather, right? Gather together and circle back is important. Showing the work of I'm willing to dive into that and recognize and own up for my crap, because that's not perfect, but I want to model at least some humility and recognize that. And then yesterday, and here's the thing, it's not a one-time thing. Like we might think, oh, circle
Right.
back, I did my thing, I'm good. Like to me, that's just like the start of it. Yeah, check the box, I apologize, good, okay, let's move. You should be fine. I owned up for it, I apologized, what more do you want, right? Like as if that's enough. To me, it's getting at the root of it. Like, are you guys good? Like, are we good now? Because I recognize there's some collateral damage by my actions, and I don't want to just brush them over as if that's normal. Like, I apologize, you should be fine, let's move on. I want to move on when you're ready to move on. I mean, obviously there's certain times where maybe you need to get over certain things too, but by and large, I'm going to keep circling back to the point where, are we good? And I talk about this phrase, make right. Like sometimes I'll tell my daughters when they get into with each other, I say, did you go make right with your sister? And sometimes, hey, is there something I need to make right with you? Like, what is, what that means? It means, are we good? And if we're not, what can I do to make right? And maybe there's nothing
Mhm.
I can do other than just let you sit in it for a little bit and I got to circle back later. Fine. But I want to make right because I want you to know I value our relationship and I'm not going to let this slide and just think that it's okay, and just let that thing linger. So I'd rather make right with you so that we're good. And it took 2, 3 circle backs to own it, to work through it, through the different emotions, and we're able to work through it. But I'm not proud of it. It's not something that like I'm like, yeah, like I'm like, shucks, like I gotta be better.
Yeah.
I don't lose it that often. And so the justification, here's another thing. The justification in my mind is like, what, it happens, like it's happened maybe twice in the last 2 years or something, like as if that's okay. Like, you know what?
Right.
That's so much better than some homes where it happens monthly or it happens every week, or like as if that's okay. And not that we're gonna be perfect, but I had to fight the urge to try to compare myself to some standard. I'm like, well, at least I'm better than losing it every month. Or it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter was that moment wasn't great, and it sucked, and I lost it, and I'm not proud of that, and I was super embarrassed because I'm supposed to be the dad coach. How do I lose it as a dad? Well, I had to work through my embarrassment. I had to work through my shame. I had to work through all that stuff, but being able to make it about them, because I was tempted to like talk to them. Oh, dad just feels like so embarrassed. I'm making it about me. I want to make it about you. Like, what are you feeling? What? And I want to make right there, because I recognize that was probably scary to see your dad raise his voice and do that stuff, and that's not okay. Like, I can handle my emotions differently next time. So I'm circling back just to make sure we're good, or thoughts or feelings or any things you want to share with me. I'm here and I want to listen. So that's literally a real thing that just happened not even a week ago. I mean, we're talking fresh. But I'm about vulnerability, because I believe as I share that, there might be other men who are going through that or will go through that, and will have a choice whether or not to circle back or just brush it under the rug, because it is embarrassing. It is hard to face that, because I hate the feeling that I might not be a good dad, or I'm not a good husband, or I lost it, or whatever. Like, it doesn't feel good to look at it. I'd rather just sweep it under the rug and move on, so I don't have to look at it. But if I don't look at it and deal with it, it's going to be there, right? And what else are we going to do but just pile it underneath? Eventually, that mound's going to get so big we can't ignore it. I'd rather just deal with it. And let's be forthcoming. But then now there's trust again. There's rebuilding. There's connection. We're made right in the sense of like we're good, right? And we had a great family day yesterday together, and it was great. But I don't think it would have been as great if I had just swept it under the rug and didn't circle back and didn't take responsibility and acknowledge certain things. And I'm trying to model that so that our girls will take responsibility when they messed up, when they, have issues that come up. Did you take responsibility? Are you able to kind of own some of that stuff? Because that's really important. The last thing we want is victim. Well, they did it. I did it because they said it, or they made me feel it. Like, no. You take responsibility for your stuff. There might have been other things that contributed to, but what is within you that you can take responsibility for? And I'm trying to model that. I'm not perfect at it either, but the more we can do it and circle back and take responsibility and make right, it at least allows us to create a home that's working on it. We're not perfect. Our family by no means are perfect. We're working on it, believe me. But we're trying, right? And we're in it,
Yeah.
and we're trying the best that we can.
The work never stops,
Yeah.
obviously. We all know that, right? None of us are perfect. I appreciate you sharing that story. It's so hard to admit those things, right? Specifically anger. I think anger is it's a triggering thing for men to admit because it's so natural.
Right.
But we're like, oh no, we don't do that, right? Or, raising your voice, those types of things. So I appreciate you sharing that and being the example, not only to your daughters, but to other dads regarding circling back, because it does do so much with regards to repair. I think we can all think back to whether it's our childhood or a work relationship or our partner where there wasn't that circle back. And, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Whoever wrote that didn't know what they were talking about.
Yeah, right.
The words definitely hurt. So
right.
Such a beautiful principle, and I appreciate you sharing that. Also on that podcast, you talked about raising the standard versus outsourcing the example. What does that mean? Talk to me about that principle.
Yeah, I really believe that it's our responsibility, again, not outsourcing. So when we take responsibility to set the standard and raise the standard for our daughters, it's really important that we own that. And what that means to me is how you communicate to your wife is setting a standard. How you treat them is setting the standard, so that your daughters look and say, well, this is, like my wife and I definitely have our issues, but we've made it a point to have a weekly date night. And so I remember earlier when they were younger, they didn't understand why you guys keep going on dates, what whatever. And we had to tell them, like, we need to take care of us so that we can take care of you. And if we're not taking care of our marriage, we're not going to be as good for you. And so I remember early on, they have these memories of like babysitters coming over, my parents coming over and watching them while we would go out on a date. And it seems like, what, don't you just want to be with us and the kids, and like, we're your kids, why are you leaving us? But it's like, we need to take care of us. And so setting the standard. So the standard is not, oh, dad takes mom out on Valentine's and anniversaries, that's it, right? Like, that's the standard. Well, then that's the standard that they see as what men should do, or potentially what men should do, right? And if we're outsourcing it to social media or to movies or different things, they're going to get their standards from wherever they see it if we don't intentionally do our best to model certain things. What is, again, circling back, that's a standard. Like, in our home, there's a standard that when we mess up, we circle back. That's a standard that I believe we need to set, rather than hoping that they do it because we're waiting for someone else to teach them that process and whatever. So setting the standard, and then how do we raise the standard, is super important. But it takes intentionality. It takes community. I think men like you help me raise the standard to be a better dad, right? As I'm around other men who are going after it and trying to be the best dads they can, I'm likewise being sharpened by you guys to be better dads as well, and be a better dad. So I think we all help each other do that, and ultimately our kids will benefit from that because we're being intentional, because we're raising the standard, and we're not just leaving it to, well, let your coach do that, let your youth pastor do that, let your teacher do that, right? Like, as if we're expecting them to, why are you not listening to your youth pastor? Why is your teacher say, you're like, wow, like, it's your responsibility to teach the different standards, whether it's integrity, like, whatever, cheating, like, what are the things we're teaching them, what are the standards, right? And then how do we maintain those, or at least keep that in front of mind for them, so they see, this is how men treat women, this is how we communicate, right? And I've had my daughters tell me, like, when they were talking to boys, they're just not communicating, and I just feel like, I'm like, okay, well, at least you feel that, like, maybe that's not for you, like, he does not able to communicate certain things, and that's just not for you. So then their standard, and my middle daughter has told me this, like, that I have really high standards for boys. I'm like, good, I'm glad. So I don't think I'm gonna date right now. All right, that's great. I'm glad, because, like, right now 14-year-old boys, they're working through their emotional immaturity and all that kind of stuff. So she's like, they're all about burping and slapping each other, and she's just like, it's not really my dive, my thing right now. I'm like, I get it, I totally understand, so it's cool that she has identified for herself, this is my standard. Not that my standard is my dad, but for her, she recognized this is what I value, and obviously it's based off certain things she's seen, but she's developing for herself, and she's used that exact words, that I have high standards. I'm like, great, I'm glad that you have high standards, right? Because you are valuable, and you deserve to have high standards, because it's from who you are. You deserve to have high standards, and you deserve to have a gentleman that's going to treat you a certain way, a godly man who's going to lead you. All these things that you desire, don't settle. Go after it. Make sure that that becomes your standard. But I do believe it's our responsibility to at least start setting certain standards. We can't be perfect in everything and always be hitting on every single cylinder. And I absolutely know there are things that I'm doing that are not doing, that they're looking at like, I don't want that in a husband, or I don't want, fair, fine, I understand that. But as much as I can set standards for certain things, I want to do that.
Such a powerful reminder in a world where it's easy to outsource entertainment and the example to social media or YouTube or all the things that kids have access to at a certain age, right? And I think that reminder is priceless, that you are the first example, specifically for your daughter, of what to expect of a man. And then if you're a father of boys, you're the example of what a man should be.
Right.
And if you are making the easy choice on a daily, moment to moment, weekly, yearly basis to just pass that off and let them be entertained elsewhere, it's going to come back, and you're going to see that example.
100%.
Right? So make the hard choice. Russ, what are your daughters currently teaching you? They're 16, 14, and 13. What are they teaching you right now?
Man, I love that question. They're teaching me a lot about myself. I'm learning a lot about myself. I'm learning a lot about my insecurities in terms of how much I'm dealing with my internal desire to make them happy, right? And when I don't, what reactions come up in me when I feel like maybe I'm not making their dreams come true, or I see them struggling. It's telling me a lot about myself. Man, I got some work to do on me, on how I handle conflict, how I handle different things, or like even, I mean, they're very transparent, which is great. They'll tell me stuff, and I'm like, ooh, that hurts, but at least I know, like at least I know that I can be better at, or and then some of it is like I just do what I do, and I don't mind being silly and funny and crazy, and I like the eye rolls or like the irritation. I'm like, all right, some of it's just what I'm gonna do, but I'm definitely learning. They're teaching me how to be a better man. Like we said, we set the standard, so what we do, right? And so if for me being able to work out consistently, because I'm setting a standard, they're helping me stay on top of things. They're helping me model the best I can model with my wife in so many ways, whether they're explicitly doing it or it's just by them being them. They're teaching me how to be a better man. And what a gift, what a gift to have kids, but specifically my daughters, to teach me to be a better man, to be more, more congruent with my faith, like all the different things where if they see incongruencies or inconsistencies, it's going to help me recognize them and be better. And so I'm just grateful that they help me be better and be a better man.
What a beautiful opportunity you have to have three probably opinionated, judgmental accountability partners when you want to get something accomplished, right?
Yeah.
Such a cool opportunity. All right, we've been recording for about 50 minutes. We're going to transition to the last three questions that I ask on the show, the last one being kind of special. And I've actually got a bonus one for you, and you'll see why here in a second.
Cool.
Number one, you can send a text message to every dad in the world, and they're going to read it. What is your message to dads?
It would probably be around the themes that we talked about. So I would send them an encouragement that you don't have to be perfect, but please work on being present, right? That difference between I'm not going to do it because I'm not perfect. It doesn't matter. Don't go for perfection. Go for presence. And then the other thing I would say in that text would be intentionality doesn't happen by accident. And so as a dad, we can't just expect that if we just show up, we're gonna be able to do it. Like we need to be intentional, and intentionality takes work. It takes plan. It takes consistent work. Like anything else, it takes work. The work, like you said, never ends. So I'd send them a text around presence and intentionality, and just recognizing that humility and vulnerability go a long way. And so if we can model that within our daughters, I think we'd see a lot more of them opening up. So encouraging them to lean into humility, lean into vulnerability, because those might be coined soft traits, but I think they're very important as it relates to how we parent, especially our daughters. And if they can focus on presence, they can focus on intentionality, humility, and vulnerability, I think dads will be better, especially as it relates to daughters. And I hope that would encourage them, but also challenge them. Because I don't want to just pat you on the back. I also want to challenge you to a higher level. And that comes with the intentionality, and it comes with the hard call of vulnerability and humility.
Yes. Dads, Russ and I are challenging you right now to get over your disdain for soft skills. They're important in your career, with your family, like lean into them.
Yep.
So that's great. I'm going to loop the bonus question in right now because you hit on it. You talked about presence and being intentional. I'm a dad. I don't have a prom event. I don't even know where to start. What's the first step to be intentional to date my daughter? What's your advice there?
It's knowing your daughter. So we can't expect that. Here's the challenge. Many times we look at other things, call it social media, call it whatever. We see something like, oh, I need to do that. This is going to change my relationship with my daughter. Maybe, but you need to know your daughter. Because if your daughter doesn't like loud things and you're like, we're going to go to a prom, like it could freak her out. Like they do the opposite. So one, know your daughter. And so dating your daughter, just like maybe for those of you who, in the courting stages of your wife or your spouse now, you got to know her and you got to know what she liked, what she didn't like, right? The last thing you want to do is like, hey, I got you a coffee. And she's like, I hate coffee. You're like, dang, I thought I was being romantic. That didn't work. Same with your daughter. You don't want to just be like, hey, I planned this epic thing. We're going to do this awesome daddy-dardy. And she's like, I hate the water. Why are we going surfing? Oh, it's going to be so great. You're going to love it, right? Don't just date to date. Don't just do it like, know your daughter. And so I think before you even, you should do stuff and you would know your daughter a little bit. So I'm believing that fathers know your daughters, at least to some degree. You know what they like, they don't like. Maybe they like ice cream, or maybe they like cookies, or maybe they hate sweets and they like fruit. I don't know. Know your daughter, right? Again, because if they like fruits and you take them to ice cream, they're like, I don't want this. I want, like, really? But all girls like ice cream, right? So know your daughter. And then once you identify one or two things that she enjoys, not you, okay? That's the difference. Sometimes we think it's about them, but we're really making it about us. Like, watch this. This is going to be Instagrammable. I'm going to take her here and look how great that I am. And she's like, dude, Dad, you're making it about you, right? One, make it about her. So the way you make it about her is know what she likes. Study her, get curious, watch, ask questions, right? Do all those things. When you identify what are those things that move the needle for her, and what I mean by that is what gets her excited? What would she love to do? Not what would you love to do? What would she love to do? Really reading a book under a tree? Wait, okay. Hey, that's your daddy daughter date. Don't worry about going to Dave and Buster's, going to the carnival. That overwhelms her, right? You want, so the point, so maybe again, go back to the why. The why of a daddy daughter date isn't just to do a daddy daughter date to be cool and check the box and say that I'm being a good dad. I'm taking her on a daughter date. The whole point of the daddy daughter date is connection. So you got to look at what's going to bring us the greatest amount of connection. Well, a lot of times doing shared things together does bring that, but it has to be the things that she also enjoys. So if she likes outdoor stuff and you hate it, I'm sorry, but you need to man up and go do outdoor stuff because she loves that, and go get dirty. Or if she loves girly stuff, I'm sorry, but go figure that out. Go take her to get a manicure, or go take her to the princesses and see that. Whatever those things are, it will bring connection and intentionality. So study her, find out what she's interested in. Remember that it's not about you, it's about her, and then go after connection. And don't expect it to happen overnight. I took you on this date. We should be. Hold on, hold on. It's built over time. This one thing I said is connection isn't bought, it's built. You don't buy connection one date at a time, you build it one day at a time. And so you don't just buy connection like, hey, I'm going to buy you this cool thing and you should be happy and I should be the best dad. No, that's just stuff. That's just things. Or even a date. That's just one time. A prom is awesome. One time. Are you building consistently day after day? That's going to bring the connection. Then that's going to make the dates even more special, right? If we're relying on the big prom to save our daughter's relationship, it's like waiting to Valentine's and anniversary to just, that's going to, speak love to my wife. But it's the weekly things that will make the date more important. So I would say start backwards. Start with the daily stuff of how you're connecting, how you're loving her. And then you're going to know what hits, what doesn't hit. And then you can craft a father-daughter date around that. And I'm full of ideas. If dads want to hit me up and say, hey, this is how my daughter is, you have any ideas? I just have a gift of figuring out how to make things magical. And I have ideas for days. But it has to be specific to your daughter. It can't be like, hey, have you thought about taking her on this? That wouldn't hit with her. It needs to be what she's in. So make it specific. But start today. Don't wait. Don't wait to, you have a 2-year-old. Well, that's unique, but you still can find ways to connect with her. Find different, and she will remember it, I think those are important. And then capture it because it's cool. I mean, you want to be present, but it's cool to capture it because then my daughters look back and, wow, remember when we were 4 and we went to that thing, and they look at it, oh, I remember that, and they relive it and remember those moments that we went on that special daddy-daughter date, just you and me. And one thing I will add in, this is a long answer, but the one thing I will add in this that I always did is I would do those affirmation times. So the structure of the date, maybe it was a Jamba date. We're just going to go to Jamba, we're going to go get a little smoothie, and then I always would have an affirmation time. And so they knew, on these dates, so dad's going to share some words. And so I would always share words. Hey, I'm really proud of you. I love you. You're beautiful. One thing I really appreciate about you is I've seen how you've been dealing with your schoolwork or your sisters or your struggles here. And I just want you to know, I'm like, Dad's really proud of you and I'm here for you. And, and I would speak these words specifically. And I would use those daddy-daughter dates to do that. It was a great reminder to just do it. So if you're going to do the dates, capitalize on it because you have one-on-one time anyway. Don't just do the fun things, but find a moment of connection and leverage that into more connection. And be specific because they need to hear it from your your mouth. Because you're like, oh, they should know. I took her on that $100 thing. She should know. You got to speak it, man. Like speak it over your daughter and be consistent and speak those words. That's to me supercharging daddy-daughter dates. If guys are like, how come it's not working? Well, it's because you're just doing it every so often and hoping that it's actually doing something. There's some strategic planning around how to capitalize on daddy-daughter dates and what it's actually for. But when you have the connection, the daddy-daughter dates are almost like the topping and the bonus, and it's like beautiful. But if you're relying solely on that thing, it's not going to sustain.
Yeah, be curious, date your daughter every day, speak with intention into your daughter, and that consistency piece. It's huge. Question number 2, Russ, if you were to meet your future self for coffee, what would he be proud of you for as a dad?
Future self. I think I would be proud that I didn't settle. So I think if I sat down with myself, you know, 10, 15 years later, I would be proud if I didn't settle. So I told myself, hey, I saw it was tempting to settle and just be okay with good enough, but you didn't settle. You pushed forward into your relationship with your daughters. You did your good enough is better than 80% of the others, so you're good. Like you didn't settle. Like you always, you weren't perfect, but you always pushed to be better, to show up more, to be more intentional, because it was that extra 5% that really moved the needle and changed things for your daughter. So I believe that not settling is also not giving up. And I'm proud of you for not giving up, right? And if I told myself that, I would be really happy that I didn't give up, I didn't settle, I stuck in there even as hard as it was, and made the sacrifices, made the choices that ultimately produced fruit and results long term, where my daughters are, they're not perfect, but they're thriving the best they can where they're at.
Never settle. Powerful. Last question. This question comes from the last guest on the show, Knight Campbell. He is a father of 3 as well. He's a mountain guide. He's a former Navy helicopter pilot. His episode comes out tomorrow, actually. So this question comes from Knight, and then you, Russ, get to ask a question for the next guest that we'll get after the show.
Okay.
So his question, and this is something we've already talked about, but perfect for you. How do you deal with moments where you feel like you let your kids or wife down?
Yeah, definitely just went through that. So it's fresh in my mind. It's a process. I think you talk about emotional maturity. It's working on that emotional maturity to be able to be humble and vulnerable enough to acknowledge that there's embarrassment there, there is insecurity there, of feeling not beating myself up, which is there's a challenge there, right? You want to beat yourself up, man, I gotta be whatever. And watching the stories I tell myself, so what can happen when I let them down is I can start beating myself up, man, you could have been better there, man, you're no good, or you're not, whatever, like just railing on myself, the stories that, so really guarding against not self-hate, because I don't hate myself at all, I'm just like beating myself up, so to speak. So because if I allow that to perpetuate, then I'm not going to be able to show up to help with the situation, because all I'm doing is self-loathing. I'm just like kicking the can. Oh man, I suck, I'm not good, right? And then, well, then my daughter, how do I even walk them through what just happened, because all I'm doing is like internally making it about me. And so I think the way that I try to deal with it is I make it about them, and I think about, well, what do they need? They don't need a dad that's just moping around because he feels embarrassed that he messed up and he let them down. Yeah, that sucks, and it hits my ego, because I don't want to let they're the few people in my life I don't want to let down, right? Like if I let them down, like that's the worst. Like even in the smallest things, I don't tell them about potential things that might happen. Like, hey, we might go on this trip, because if we don't, I'm letting them down. I don't even do that because I don't want to let them down. So when I do let them down, it's really hard. But I need to work through all those emotions to be able to show up, to be able to push through my own ego and my own self-loathing and embarrassment and all those things that I'm feeling personally, so that I can circle back, so that I can make right, so that I can do all the things that I can take responsibility for it. And if I am able to do it, I think I'm able to handle it in a way that pushes my ego aside to show up for them. I want to say that's how I want to show up, and I believe I do show up at times. I'm not perfect at it, but it's a real thing, man, and it's something that we definitely will continue to work through and struggle with. Is when we let them down, it's one of the worst, especially as dads who are trying their best to be the best present. When we let them down, bro,
Yes.
it just is so hard. But we're gonna do it. We know we're not perfect, so we're just pushing through
Right.
that, and owning it is a way that I'm trying to do it. So hope that helps.
Russ, it absolutely helps. You've had so many powerful, powerful nuggets of wisdom and guidance. I know I am going to listen to this episode multiple times so I can grow as a dad to a daughter. I just really appreciate you coming on the show. If people want to learn more about fathers with daughters, they want to figure out how to come to Hawaii for a prom, they want to see all of your ideas, they want to reach out for your coaching, what's the one place people can reach out to connect with you?
Yeah, I would say my landing page, my website, fwd.fatherswithdaughters.com. And so, like, it's just simple, but being able to, that's where you can find our community. That's where you can find my coaching, learn more about the events that are happening. Again, obviously, a lot of the events are here in Hawaii. So if you're not here, you can't come to some of the events. I will be start rolling out some online events so then guys could join in on the events experiences as well online. But fwd.fatherswithdaughters.com is probably the best place to find me, or on Instagram, fathers with or daughters. It's a good place to find me as well, or Russ Kimura. So I appreciate that though, because it's the more we can spread the word and let people know, like I'm a resource. I'm only taking on a few coaching clients right now, so I'm looking to work with a handful of driven, high capacity girl dads who are winning at work, but maybe struggling at home, need a game plan, need some accountability, need maybe some encouragement and ways to level up in their fatherhood. Those are the dads I want to work with who are hungry, but maybe just need a little bit of coaching, a little bit of guidance, a little bit of accountability. I will, in 90 days, I believe that that connection with your daughter is going to transform in terms of that relationship, but also it moves the needle in who we become as men will be better. So I'm just looking for a handful of men that I can personally one-on-one work with while we continue to do the community stuff. And so, I welcome any dads to reach out to me. Love to, see if we're a good fit.
Absolutely. Guys, we'll make sure to put the link to the landing page as well as social media links in the show notes. Please do yourself a favor, follow Russ on social media. And if you like this episode, give the podcast, wherever you're watching or listening, a 5-star review. And we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks, Russ.
Aloha.